What up guys, welcome back. So here we have a pretty decent tool. Whoever built this, great job. Here we can check our marks distribution, how many marks have been distributed, and also what is our rank depending on the amount of marks that we got. So what I want to cover is why I am still kind of bullish on Scroll. And when I say bullish, I'm not talking about the old airdrop where we got $5,000 Evo, $4,000. No, nothing like that. But based on what we have been receiving right now, I still think that Scroll might be okay. And depending on the amount of marks that we got, it might still be profitable, hopefully. So basic information, currently there is around 2.5 million addresses on Scroll. Total mark distribution is 575 million. But by the way, I think it should be a little bit more because there are some projects that they're not tracking or not displaying the marks yet. So for example, we have SyncSwap, which I don't think they're displaying the marks or the points yet. So most likely in the future, this amount will increase once they add the other project. And obviously, as we move forward with the campaign, obviously this amount will continue to increase. Sync process, it doesn't really matter. 100%. This is just on the platform. And then we have here the good stuff, which is the mark distribution. Kind of crazy. You might think that 2.5 million addresses is a crazy amount. But if you have been following me for some time, you know that usually I like to remove around 40% or 50% of these addresses that are not going to be receiving the airdrop. And now we have the data to back it up. So between 0 and 1, so that means they have less than 1 mark, 21.12%, which is kind of crazy. That is almost a quarter of all the total addresses, 21%. Next, we have below 50, 32%. So below 50, we already got more than half of the total addresses with less than 50 marks. I'm not saying that if you have less than 50, you're not going to be receiving the airdrop, which most likely yes. If they're going to be using a requirement, I do think it might be below. So anywhere between 50 and 100 is what you should have for you to receive the airdrop. Now, anybody that got 1 or 2, forget about it. I don't think you're going to be receiving an airdrop. So right there, we already have almost two-thirds of people that could potentially not receive the airdrop. So what that means is that we are going to be receiving a bigger portion of the airdrop if we are above 100. Again, I'm just speculating on the amount, but for me, it doesn't really make sense that if you have just 1 mark, 10, 15 marks, you're going to be receiving the airdrop. Doesn't make sense. So then if we move to things like, let's say 200 to 300, only 7.55% of them have that amount, or addresses have that amount. Now, if we go to 500 to 1,000, which most of us, we should have it. So for example, if you watch my video on Scroll, the first time that I used it, I think it was probably September, October. It was within the first week that they started mainnet, and I did a video talking about that I was going to take a lot of transaction, using it a lot just in case that was a requirement for the airdrop. And if you did it, you should already have a pretty good jump start based on the amount of fees that you burn on Scroll. So you should have probably maybe 300, 250, 400. I have seen people with already 800, 900 just based on the amount of fees that they spent on Scroll on multiple months. So right there, you should be within the top 3.42%, which is pretty crazy, right? And if you are between 1,000 and 2K, you are top 1%. Not bad at all, right? And above 2,000, we only have 1.23%. Kind of crazy. So most of us, if you have been putting in the work, you use Scroll, you spend some gas fee, and then you started adding some funds or using some funds for LP liquidity, you should be at least between 500 and 1,000 right now. If not, probably way more. So not bad. So that means if, I don't know when we're going to be receiving the airdrop, probably over the next, let's say 3 months, just to use a speculation date, you still have some time to provide some liquidity on something like Ambient, which I know it is one of them that they're currently tracking or displaying the points. And with just $1,000, probably $2,000, you should be able to increase your rank, your mark pretty fast. Now, I'm not saying that you're gonna be receiving $10,000, $20,000, but still, if you have a pretty decent chunk in LP, you should be able to receive an airdrop, which might be or might be not decent. Another thing that we can also cover are the badges. To be honest, I'm not super excited about it just because any project can create a badge campaign. So we can have some projects that are kind of trashy creating the badges, and then most likely we're just getting involved with some dumb project which we might get scammed or we don't know what the fuck they are. So that's why I don't have a crazy amount. Again, I'm not super bullish on it, but I do think that depending on the amount of canvas badges that you get, probably that will increase the amount of marks that you have. Now, I don't know if there will be some type of multiplier for each one of them. So maybe we have some that are a little bit harder to get. So we might get a multiplier on the amount of marks. We don't know. Another thing is if you also started early, the testnet, they had something which was deploying a contract and then minting an NFT. Genesis NFT is the NFT. So maybe that might serve as a multiplier. I also have it on 3 wallets, which are the total wallets that I'm currently farming. I'm not using a crazy amount, and I have one on each one of them. So hopefully that can also serve as a multiplier. So talking about using multiple wallets. If you don't have a crazy amount of money, don't start using 5, 10, 20 wallets. It doesn't make sense because in the end it will be based on the amount of marks that you got. So just use 1, 2, 3 and add the amount of money that you want with each one of them. So for example, I have my main wallet, which is where I have the majority of my funds, and I have been using just mitosis, which the points are not being displayed for mitosis, but I have mitosis, I have ambient, SyncSwap, Aave, and also Brew Markets. And then I have my second wallets, which I try to use things that are a little bit more risky because I have less money. And the third one is just for playing. I do whatever I want with them. So if I get hacked in the future, doesn't really matter because I don't have a lot of money on my third wallet. So that's why I usually use just 1, 2, 3, and then call it a day. So when it comes to price per mark, this is obviously just pure speculation. I don't know what it is going to be, but let's say that scroll starts at a FDV, let's say $3 billion. I'm using 3 billion because right now zkSync is at 2.25 or 2.5 even after the airdrop. So scroll, let's say they might open at that price. I'm not saying it will stay at 3 billion, but let's just use it as a estimation. So 3 billion, and let's also say that they're going to be distributing maybe 10%. Hopefully it is way more. I really hope that it is around 15%, but just for simplicity, let's use 10%. So 10% would be $300 million. And based on the marks, let's say that this continues to increase to 600 million marks, just to use a number. So total marks divided by $300 million to be distributed for the airdrop. That means every mark should be worth around 50 cents. Again, I'm just using it for this calculation. You guys can change it or do your own speculation or calculation as you wish. Now, let's say that it is 0.5. Good thing is it will probably increase. So your airdrop allocation will increase because 1, they're going to be removing all the CB accounts. And second, all of these accounts that are below 1 or below 50, they're not going to be receiving the airdrop. So what is going to happen is that they're going to be increasing our airdrop allocation. So hopefully it is a little bit above 50 cents, $1 or whatever they decide to use. Then lastly, we might also have some multiplier, as I mentioned before. Canvas might be a multiplier. Using scroll for a long time, or if you started within the first, second month of mainnet, you might get a multiplier. The Genesis NFT, it might also serve as a multiplier. So in the end, there is no correct calculation that we could do, but still, right now, the only thing that we spent some money on was using the blockchain a few months ago, and then we also got our marks. From now on, it doesn't really matter if you're taking transaction back and forth like a madman. you're not going to be receiving any type of marks for that. So the only thing that you can do is provide some liquidity, which doesn't cost money because you're just taking one transaction to add your funds, and that's it. So the good thing is, even if you add $1,000 and you make $1,000 or $500, I still think it is kind of profitable because you're not spending your money, right? You're just adding some funds into it and then waiting for your airdrop. So what I do think is that if we are above 2,000, you should be receiving a decent airdrop. Maybe $2,000, maybe above $1,000, hopefully more than that. Now, what I do think is if you have something like 10,000, 15,000 marks, 20,000 marks, that's where you're going to be making a pretty decent amount of money. But so far, with 1,000, dude, you should be good. Don't stress it out. Even 500, if you still have some funds into LP, which I do recommend that you don't remove it, just in case they use that as a filter to remove Sibyl accounts. But anything above 500, you should be receiving a pretty decent airdrop, right? So lastly, I got that question the other day, is that that person have been using Scroll for some time, but wanted to added some LP, but I think he got, I think it was maybe $70 or $90 or something like that. Still, whatever you have available, make sure to add it into an LP, because in the end, if they use that as a filter for Sibyl accounts, at least hopefully you can be covered on that part. So make sure to use something that is a good project. So maybe SyncSwap, maybe Ambient, add some LP and leave it there till we receive the airdrop. And lastly is just engaging a little bit with Canvas. Try to get some badges. Don't go crazy. I have seen some. So for example, for ZNS, this is one of them, but there is another one that you need to be minting 5 different domain name. Don't do it. I don't think it is worth it. You're going to be spending around $15 just on a dumb ZNS badge. For this one, you only need to mint 1, and I think the price was around $2.50. So if you need to mint 5, it is around $15. So I don't think it is worth it. But there are some other ones. For example, Swapor, which is just adding $500 in trading volume, in swapping volume on Ambient. So pretty easy. If you have $100, you just swap 5 times. So there you have your Swapor. Or this is actually the Genesis NFT that I was able to mint. We have Ethereum year, so when you started, and multiple others. We have the NFT creator badge because I do have a NFT on Scroll, which I'm gonna be adding the link in the description for it so you guys can check it out. So it's basically just for support. And then we have some of the others here, which are bridgers on Symbiosis, if I'm not mistaken. So pretty easy. So go ahead and check it out. Check what are the badges that you guys can mint. Let's see. Pencils, I think it is by providing some funds and leaving it there for a month. Unique humanity score, I think I have this one, if I'm not mistaken. But for this unit, you actually need to be paying some money. Let's see. I think I had it. Yeah, here it is, unique humanity score, which is with Gitcoin Passport. So yeah, there you go. Lastly, before I go, let's go ahead and check one wallet. I'm not gonna use mine, but I'm just gonna copy this one. Let's go to Scrollmark. Let's see if it works. So basically, you copy paste your wallet address, get mark, so you guys can see right here that person, he got 342 marks. He is within the top 10%, so not too crazy. 342 marks is not that much. From what I have seen is, for example, on Ambient, I think for every $100 that you add in LP, every 24 hours you should be getting a few marks, so probably like 2 to 3. Don't quote me on it, but I think I did the math a few weeks ago, and I think that was the amount. So I think I did it with maybe 250, and I think I was getting maybe 5 marks per hour. I'm sorry, hopefully that was per hour, per day. And yeah, 5 marks I think it was for every 24 hours with a range of 5%, I think it was. But go ahead and do it. Calculate, take a screenshot, and see more or less what is the amount of money that you should add into an LP so you can increase your marks quickly enough so you can be within the top maybe 10%, 5%, whatever your goal is. If you can be within the top 1%, obviously that would be pretty amazing. Lastly, on Whales Market, we have the price, which is 0.24 cent or 25 per mark. To be honest, I don't like to use Whales Market to speculate on any price because 99, actually, you know what, 110% of the time, they're wrong. So I don't really like to use it. I know that some of you like to do it, but usually it doesn't really matter. So for example, Hyperliquid, it has been at $10 and at $5 and at $2. So it doesn't really matter. But if you guys want to do it, it is at 0.24. But again, I don't think it really matters because in the end, they still need to remove a lot of the users, Sibyl, and also might use some type of multiplier. So there you go, guys. Let me know what you think is going to be the price per mark, and also what is the total marks you guys think we should have to receive a pretty decent airdrop. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Bye bye.